Welcome to Mathematics Made Easy with TADX, where mathematical concepts will be explained in clear terms for easy understanding. You can also join us on all our social media handles for more information.
All right, good pals. Uh, for today's class, we are going to be taking the substitution method of solving the simultaneous linear equation. And in our last class, we treated the elimination method. So the two methods I told us we are going to be considering are just the elimination method and the substitution method. So for the elimination method, for the substitution method today, we are going to be making use of this word. Let me explain the concept of this word. When you are talking about from, you are talking about the origin of a particular object or a particular person. Take for example, Festus is from Oyo State. That means the state of origin of Festus is Oyo State. That's where Festus is coming from. So when you have 2x plus 3y equals to 8 and you have 9x plus 15y equals to 10, where this one is your equation 1 and this one is your equation 2. Now when you want to apply this word in relation to this equation 1 and equation 2 as far as we are concerned here, now if you say from equation 1, that means you are making reference to equation 1. So when you say from 1, that means what you are telling that person is that I want you to go back to that equation 1. The equation 1 will be the origin. That means that's the focus as at that particular point in time. So if you're able to remember this from, then there's no question as far as simultaneous equation is concerned that you can use your solution method to solve. Now what you just need to do is very simple. When you remember this word from, now decide on your own. Should I start with equation 1 or start with equation 2? Now let's look at the questions we have here. For this question 1, we have 4x plus y equals to 8, 3x minus y equals to 6. Now for both equation 1 and equation 2 in question 1, the coefficient of y here is 1, the coefficient of y here is also 1. That means for these two equations here, both 1 and 2, we have a particular variable which is having the coefficient as 1. So that means you don't need to really bother yourself much about that one. So that means for today, I'm going to be limiting the explanation on questions that has the coefficient as 1, and that is very easy for us when we have the coefficient as 1. So that means in our next class, I'm still going to take the solution method of solving simultaneous equation, but this time around it's not going to be on questions that we don't have any of the variable to be having a coefficient as 1. So here now we have coefficients here as 1, this one as 1. Here now for equation 2, our y is also what? 1. So it's easier for you when you have a particular question that is having the coefficient as 1. So if I am to solve this question 1 now, let me rub up this solution. We have 4x plus y equals to 8. That stands as our equation 1. Here we have 3x minus y equals to 6. That stands as our equation 2. Now from this place here, now it's better for us to start with equation 1. And the reason why we are starting with equation 1 is because this y is having the coefficient of 1, and the coefficient is not just 1 but it's plus 1, because when you have y in front of this y, we have an invisible plus 1. Now for equation 2, we have minus y, the coefficient is minus 1. Now when the coefficient is minus 1, it's easier for you to start with the one that is having the positive sign, because by the time you want to make the variable to be the Sawyer formula, then it's going to be easier for you to collect your like term, or for you to make that variable to stand alone while every other thing goes to the right hand side, and that particular variable of yours stays on the left hand side. It's going to be a lot easier when you're working with positive values. Now this one is a positive value, and that's why I'm going to start with it. Now when you get to this question 2, this y is having a negative value. Then you are going to see the way we are going to be evaluating it when we get to question 2. Now still on that equation 1, so I will now say from equation 1, that means I am making use of this from. That means I'm telling us now, I'm shifting the focus now back to equation 1. And the reason why we are shifting the focus to equation 1 is because from equation 1 here we have 4x plus y equals to 8. Now I am not working with this 4x here because the coefficient of x here is 4. I don't need anything different from 1 as at now. And here the coefficient of y here is 1, but positive 1, and that's why I decided to make use of equation 1, because it's the one that is having the plus 1. I am not using this minus y because the coefficient is 1, but rather is having a negative value. So I decided to start with equation 1, which is having the plus 1. It's also possible for us, let's say we have y, okay, let me say this. Let's say x plus y equals to 2, and we have 2x plus 3y equals to 7. When we have two variables that are having the coefficients of 1, 1, here we have the coefficients of 1, here you have the coefficients of 1, it's possible you can come across it in a question. Now when you come across something like this in a question, now you see x having the coefficients of plus 1 and y also having the coefficients of plus 1, then you cannot make use of any one. Either you make use of x or you make use of y. But what you just need to be observing is which one is having the coefficients of 1. That means as far as our explanation today is concerned, and don't forget what I said, that in our next class we are going to take examples of whichever number that comes your way, be it plus, negative, whole number, fractional number, any number that comes your way. But since we are just introducing this as the substitution method for simultaneous equation, that's why I'm starting with the one that is having the plus 1 as a coefficient for this first example. So let's see the way we are going to evaluate this now. So from 1 now, we have 4x plus y equals to 8. Now I've shifted the attention now to only equation 1. Now after shifting the attention to only equation 1, from what we did initially, we took equation 1 because of this y. So that means you now make y the subject of formula. Make y the subject of formula. So what this statement here means is this: when you are making y the subject of formula, that means what you are telling us is that you want the y to stand alone on the LHS, while every other thing goes to the RHS. So in that case, we have y equals to 8 minus 4x. We are used to this type of thing before, so I don't need to waste my time explaining that. So since you've gotten the value for y now, that means this answer that you have gotten for your y now, anywhere you see y, you are going to substitute it into equation 2. That means the second equation. If you have taken it from equation 2 before, that means when you were starting here, if you have started with equation 2, after making the subject of formula here, you substitute back into equation 1. But here we started with equation 1, so we substitute the value of this y into equation 2. That place is a bit technical. Just try as much as possible to relax yourself, get it. Once you get it, you don't need to bother yourself. If you started with equation 1, the value you have gotten, substitute it back into equation 2. Now if you have started with equation 2, the value you have gotten, which you have made the subject of formula, substitute it back into equation 1. Now substitute the value of y, substitute the value of y into equation 2. So now I am shifting the focus back to equation 2. Now write out your equation 2, which is 3x minus y equals to 6. This becomes your equation 2, just as indicated before. Now what this one now means, when you say substitute the value of y, that means this y that is here as y equals to 8 minus 4x. In this your equation 2, anywhere you see y, you replace it by the value that you have here. So that means this now becomes 3x minus, open the brackets. Now the reason you are using the bracket is because you have more than one value for the value of y now. So that now becomes 8 minus 4x, everything equals to 6. Let me explain that part again. 3x minus y equals to 6. That's the same thing you have for your equation 2. And the sentence here says substitute the value of y, and y here is 8 minus 4x. Now since the value of y is 8 minus 4x, that means anywhere we see y in our equation 2, we are going to be replacing it by 8 minus 4x. And equation 2 says 3x minus y equals to 6. 3x, I wrote it as 3x minus, this is my minus. Now my y, I'm using it as a bracket now, most especially because of this minus here, because by the time I'm opening the brackets, I'm going to be using the minus here to multiply the sign for each of the value. So let's open the brackets now. We have 3x. Now in front of this 8 here, we have an invisible plus. So we have minus times plus, which gives us minus 8. Then minus times minus plus 4x, everything equals to 6. Now what we need to do here is just for us to collect our like terms. This has now turned to normal equation. Now when it turns to normal equation, this is x, this is x, just like a linear value we've done earlier. So we have 3x plus 4x equals to 6, minus 8 crosses to the other side to become plus 8. So count 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. 3x plus 4x gives us 7x equals to 6 plus 8, 14. Dividing both sides by 7, so we have our x equals to 2. Now since you've gotten your answer for x as 2, at this particular stage now we can now substitute this x into any equation, either your equation 1 or equation 2. Please get this particular stage very well. As at when we were using this value of y, I said if you have taken this from 1, you don't substitute back into that same 1, but rather you substitute back into 2. And if you have started from 2, you don't substitute into that same 2, but you substitute into 1. Now after solving your answer, you have gotten your answer for the first letter, and you are dealing with two different letters. You can substitute into any of the equations and your answer is still going to be correct. That's just the slight difference between this particular step and this step that we have here. So in this case here now, so I can make use of my equation 1 now. Substitute the value of x into equation 1, and my equation 1 is 4x plus y equals to 8. We have 4x plus y equals to 8 as your equation 1. So let me label it equation 1. So here now the sentence says substitutes the value of x. The value of x here is 2. That means anywhere I'm seeing x here, I'll replace this by 2. So this now become 4 into bracket 2 plus y equals to 8. 4 bracket 2 is the same thing as 4 times 2. 8 plus y equals to 8. Y equals to 8 minus 8. Y equals to 0. Therefore, our x equals to 2 and our y equals to 0. Then as usual, we are going to check if our answer is right or wrong. Now, for us to check, as we did when we were dealing with the elimination method, we can use any of the equation. Let me use equation 2. 3x minus y equals to 6. I'm using my equation 2 here, and the value of x that we have is 2. So if the value of x is 2, that means in this my equation 2, wherever I see x, I put 2. So this now becomes 3 into bracket 2 minus the value of y is 0 equals to 6. So we have 6 minus 0 equals to 6. 6 equals to 6. LHS equals to RHS. Then that means our solution is definitely correct. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to recap or summarize what we've done as far as the first question is concerned, just for clarity's sake. Now for this question 1, we have 4x plus y equals to 8 as our equation 1. Then we have 3x minus y equals to 6 as our equation 2. Now in this case, I told you before you start, look at all the values you have in that question, both equation 1 and equation 2. Which of the value is having the coefficient of 1? And here our equation 1 is having the variable of y as 1, and equation 2 is also having the variable of y as 1. Now when you have both 1 and 1, now ask yourself which one is having the positive value, which one is having the negative value. The one with the positive value is the one of equation 1, which is plus y, while the one of equation 2 is one of the negative value, which is minus y. And from experience, positive is easier for you to evaluate as opposed to negative values. So that was why we decided to go with the one of equation 1. So picking equation 1, you write from 1 And as explained initially, when used from, we talk about the origin. That means the origin of what you have written here is what? Equation 1. Or rather, you are shifting the focus now to only equation 1. That's your reference point. So I wrote the equation 1 out just because of this sentence here from 1. Now after writing it out, you now make this letter, which is having the coefficient of 1. You make it the subject of formula. Now when you say subject of formula, that means you want it to stand alone. Every other thing goes to the other side, which is our right hand side, while this y stays on the left hand side. Now this is plus 4x. When it crosses to the other side, it becomes minus 4x. 8 is already on the right hand side, so no need of shifting that one. So that means we have y equals to 8 minus 4x. Now that stands as the value of y as at this stage. Now substitute the value of y into equation 2, because you took this from equation 1, and like I said, you don't put it back into the same equation 1, but you put it into the second one, which is our equation 2. So we wrote our equation 2 out, which is 3x minus y equals to 6. Now after doing that, the value of y which we have gotten here, which was 8 minus 4x, we put it back here. We have 3x minus, the minus is here. Now the y, I opened the bracket before writing the value of that y, which is 8 minus 4x, then close the bracket, everything equals to 6. Then we started opening the bracket, 3x. Now in front of this 8, we have plus. Minus times plus here gives minus. So we put the 8, minus times minus gives us plus. We have the 4x, then everything equals to 6. Then after that, we collected our like terms. The like terms, they're putting all the variables of x together. Then the numbers, I took them to the RHS. So here we have 3x plus 4x, and that was what I wrote here. Then this minus 8 crosses to the other side, becomes plus 8. So you have 6 plus 8, and I wrote it here. So 6 plus 8 here gives us 14. So when we have 7x equals to 14, we divide both side by 7. So 7, when you cancel it out, after cancelling it out, we have x equals to 2, and that gives you the answer for x. So after getting your answer for x, then we can now make use of any equation of your choice for you to get the answer for y. And here we decided to go for equation 1. So substitute the value of x into equation 1. I wrote out my equation 1. So 4x plus y equals to 8. Then our x here was 2. So anywhere I see x, I put my 2 plus y equals to 8. 4 bracket 2, that's 4 times 2, which is 8. So we have 8 plus y equals to 8. 8 crosses to the other side, becomes minus. So we have y equals to 8 minus 8, y equals to 0. And that gives us the final answer for both x and y. Then here, what we only did was just for us to check if our answer was right or wrong. And we did that as well when we were dealing with the elimination method. So what we need to do whenever you want to check is just for you to write out any of the equations. So here we decided to make use of equation 2. So writing out our equation 2, we have 3x minus y equals to 6. Our x was 2. So that becomes 3 bracket 2 minus our y is 0. So we put the 0 here, everything equals to 6. 3 times 2, 6 minus 0 equals to 6. 6 equals to 6. And just like we already know, anytime you are checking, your left hand side must be the same thing with the right hand side. So that gives us the complete answer for the first question. So for the second question here, we have 2x minus 4y equals to 17 for our equation 1. And we have 4x minus y equals to 6 as our equation 2. And like I told us when we were dealing with the first question, that before you choose whichever one you are going to shift your focus to when you are starting, you consider which one is having the coefficients of 1 out of all the variables that you have. For this one here, the coefficient of x here is 2. That means we cannot use this for now. This one is having the coefficient of minus 4. We can't use it for now. This one is having the coefficient of 4. We can't use it for now. Here, this one is having the coefficient of minus 1. So that means we can use this one here because it's the only one that's having the coefficient of 1. The only problem we are going to be having is that the coefficient is in the negative form, but it's still what? Minus 1. So that means I'm starting with my equation 2, which is from 2. Now, like I told us, when you use from 2, that means as at now, you are shifting your focus to equation 2. And your equation 2 here is 4x minus y equals to 6. Now, when you have 4x minus y equals to 6, and you have shifted the attention to equation 2, now we need to make this y the subject of the formula. That means we want it to stand alone. Now, for us to do that, let me say 4x minus 6 equals to y. That means our y now equals to 4x minus 6. Let me quickly do something like that here so that you see the other way I used in collecting the like terms. Let's look at it here now. We have 4x minus y equals to 6. What I did from the other side was I only brought this minus y to the right hand side, as opposed to what I told us when we were dealing with the first one, that you leave whatever you want to make the solve your formula, you leave it on the left hand side. You can still use that same method and you are still going to get the correct answer. Now in this case here, if you leave this one here, you are going to have minus y equals to 6 minus 4x. That means minus y stays on the left hand side, then 6 is already on the right hand side, you leave it there. This one is having plus 4x crosses to the other side, it becomes minus 4x. Now in this case here, now when you divide both sides by minus 1, then you are going to have y. Then that means we have 6 minus 4x, everything here divided by minus 1. Now when you are dividing this, now you divide it singly. When I say singly, that means value by value. You divide this 6 by minus 1, you divide this one by minus 1. So this now becomes y equals to minus 6 plus 4x. Now mathematically, when you have minus 6 plus 4x, you can still put it as y equals to 4x minus 6. You are still correct. When you have minus 6 is on the right hand side. Here minus 6 is still on the right hand side. 4x is having plus, there's still plus here, which is 4x minus 6. So this one is still the same thing. So instead of going through this long process, that was what I did here. I only transferred the y to the right hand side, then this 6 I brought it back to this side. Here it was having plus, but when it came to the left hand side, it became minus. So here now we have 4x minus 6 equals to y. Then I now brought everything back without changing the sign this time around. That becomes y equals to 4x minus 6. So is it that you do this one directly like this, or you stepwisely go through the long process? Here you go through the process and you're still going to get your answer correctly. So whichever one you want to use out of the two, your answer is still going to be the same thing. So we've gotten our y now. Now since we've gotten your y as the subject of formula, what we just need to do is just for us to substitute back into the second one. Here we started with equation 2. So we can't use equation 2 again this time around, but we use equation 1. So substitute the value of y into equation 1. Our equation 1 is 2x minus 4y equals to 17. So now we've gotten our y as 4x minus 6. Now we are substituting it into equation 1. That means from this my equation 1, anywhere I'm seeing y, I'm going to be replacing it by 4x minus 6. So 2x minus 4 into brackets. Here we have 4x minus 6. Everything equals to 17. Now we need to open the brackets. When you're opening the brackets, we have 2x minus 4 times 4x here gives you minus 16x. Minus times minus here plus 4 times 6, 24. Everything equals to 17. Now what we just need to do is just for us to collect the like terms here. So when you are collecting the like terms, 2x minus 16x gives you minus 14x equals to, here now we have 17 minus 24. This is now leading us back to direct number, and that was where we started from. And whenever you are dealing with the concept of direct number, you don't need to bother yourself. What you just need, remember, okay, minus you are owing, plus you are the owner. Everything becomes very easy for you. So this one here, you can go back. I even trust you guys, you don't need to bother yourself. So in this case here now we have minus 14x. Now when you have 17 minus 24, so 17 minus 24 here gives you minus 7. So here now it's easy for us to divide. So when you have minus 7, we can now divide both sides. Let me divide it here. We have minus 14x equals to minus 7. So this divided by minus 14. Divide this one too by minus 14. This is gone. We have x equals to 1 all over 2. That means this answer as at this stage is in fractional form, but you don't need to be bothered, or you don't need to stress yourself that okay, your answer is now in fractional form. Just follow the step. Once you know the procedure, everything is going to be very easy for you. So the procedure now is just for you to substitute the value of this x into any of the equation, be it equation 1 or equation 2. So I can decide to use any one now. Let me use my equation 2. Substitute the value of x into equation 2. If I'm using equation 2, so that now becomes 4x minus y equals to 6. So my x here is 1 over 2. So anywhere I see x, I will replace it by 1 over 2 minus y equals to 6. Now 4 into brackets 1 over 2 is the same thing as 4 times 1. That's multiplying the numerator, or simply put, you can cut this 4 and 2 here. That means 2 here 1, 2 here 2. 2 times 1 gives you 2 minus y, everything equals to 6. Now this particular stage here is almost the same thing with what I did here when I was about to make my y the subject of the formula. So here what I did was to take this minus y to the other side, then I brought this one inside, so that now becomes 4x minus 6. If I want to do that here, that means this y crosses to the other side, then this 6 becomes minus 6. So that means we have 2 minus 6 equals to y, then we have minus 4 equals to y. Therefore my y equals to minus 4. And if I don't want to do that, as at this particular stage here, when I was having my 2 minus y equals to 6, I can still leave it as minus y equals to 6 minus 2. So minus y equals to 4. Dividing both sides by minus 1. So this minus cancel this, so we have y equals to minus 4. Still the same thing with what we got here. So whichever method you decide to use, your answer is still going to be the same thing. So we've gotten the answer for both x and y. Literally, if you leave your answer there, you are still correct. But as far as I'm concerned, let's check. So check. So when you're checking, use any of the equation. Let's use equation 1 now. 2x minus 4y equals to 17, and our x is 1 over 2. So we have 2 into bracket 1 over 2 minus 4 into bracket. Our y is minus 4. Everything equals to 17. 2 cancel 2 here, just like the way I cancelled it here. 4 in 2. How many times did 2 go in 4? We said 2. How many times will 2 go into 1? So just write your 1 here. So 1 times 1 gives you 1. Minus 4 times minus 4 gives you plus 16 equals to 17. 1 plus 16, 17 equals to 17. LHS equals to RHS. Now, since your LHS is already equals to RHS, you don't need to bother yourself again. All you just need to do is just for you to jubilate. I've gotten the answer correctly. So for the substitution method today, we've gotten the answer correctly, and we have been able to solve the 2 questions without any stress. So the same way we are able to solve this question, we'll be able to do the same thing. So what you just need to do is just create time for yourself, go through the questions, and I will make sure that the questions we are going to be solving as far as this substitution method is concerned for today's class, it's going to be questions that the coefficients are just 1, but it can either be positive or negative. So in our next class, we are going to consider questions that have more than 1 coefficient. So that means it can be 2, 3, and so on and so forth. It can be positive, it can be negative, it can be fractional value. So whichever one, but try as much as possible to take your time, go through the solution of this, so that by the time we start solving the one that is having bigger value, it's not going to be a problem for you. You are going to get it easily and faster. And as usual, if you know anyone around you that still have phobia for mathematics, nothing stops you in referring the person back to our YouTube channel or any of our social media. If you are going through the YouTube channel, just search Adiagbo Festus. Very easy. So once you type Adiagbo Festus, it's going to bring the videos and you are going to see it there. So subscribe or you like it, and anytime we upload, you are going to see the videos there. And if you are going through the FB, just search for Adiagbo Festus as well. You are going to see it there. And if it's a Telegram channel as well, you can still get our videos on Telegram channel, and you have access to it starting from the first video down to the latest video that will be uploaded. Thank you, and God bless you.
turn to shine, and I must shine henceforth. For the hands of Jesus Christ is upon me. It is my turn to shine,